I like to start out, if you're learning to skip a jig, tighten these drags down like I said. When you're first starting out, that's a little too tight, but I want my jig to just barely fall or not even fall when I push that button in, just where it's barely falling. And what that's gonna do is when it hits the ground, you see there's no backlash, there's no loose line in that reel. So I can push the button in, let the knot come through. When it hits the ground, it just stops like that. That's gonna cut down on a lot of your backlashes just by doing that. And once you get comfortable with your targets and your casting abilities to where you have more confidence not to hit pontoon boats and hit docks and stuff, you can loosen that drag up and that will extend your cast by 15 to 20 feet. But I'm gonna try to get a little more room here. I'm gonna come over here. When you're making that skip cast, I still don't really have enough room. Oh, gonna get some feedback. But when you're making that cast, I'm gonna move some stuff here. 7-foot rod, this is why I go with a 6'9". I don't have enough room already. But all right, I've got my jig. I start out with about 6 inches to a 1.5 feet of line off the tip of my rods where I'm gonna start my cast. And I always cast, when I'm skipping, I use a two-handed sidearm cast. So I take my right hand and use it to control the spool, control the friction on the line, to control my backlash, and I take my left hand and put it on the butt of the rod. And what that does is that gives me a little more force when I roll my cast. I've got that leverage on the butt of that rod. But the main thing when you're skipping is what I talked about earlier, is following through with your cast. When you start your cast, it doesn't matter how far you come back, how far you swing your arms forward, it's all when you snap your wrist. So when I get to the point of where I want my bait to go, I'm gonna roll my wrist over and just kind of make the rod tip draw a C. If you can picture that, and picture that rod tip just making a little C. And that's what's gonna start your bait skipping, when you snap your wrists under like that and really slingshot that bait forward. There's one pontoon boat I caught a 5-pounder in practice. I ran all the way back to it in Spring Creek, come in around the back side of it where I can skip between the motor and the float. I get up there, get my boat lined up perfect. First cast sounds like a dinner bell going ding. I mean, you can hear the echoes. It feels like it's echoing a half a mile away. I'm like, man, what in the world? So I'm frustrated. I wind in, just kind of halfway make another cast, get it under there, and I catch a 6-pounder. And that kind of opened my eyes up to how much noise really doesn't affect them on docks like that. Because if you think about it, that's a situation where they're around foreign noises their whole lives under those docks. People are playing on docks. People are down in the yards playing, people are swimming off docks, walking around, and I think they get used to it. It's just like deer living in a city or something like that. They get used to being around people and they get used to that environment, and I don't think it bothers them as much. Boats driving by, the people cranking up the boats on their boat lifts and pulling out in and out from the dock, I don't think that affects them any. And another example of that is we fish a lot of boat ramps on Lake Norman. And we catch them cranking in the winter. I've caught fish off a boat ramp 5 minutes after somebody backed a boat in the water. I think they get used to that environment and it doesn't affect them any.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bass U TV.
Here's what's awesome about Bass U TV.
You get the top instructors.
You will learn things at Bass U that you will learn nowhere else.
We take the mystery and the myths out of bass fishing.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
At Bass U TV, shoes are optional.
And I like turtles.
And that's why you want to check out Bass U TV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass U TV.